right, this is 1.3, the second section, and we're going to do a little bit more problem solving. So one of the problems that we will look at is dealing with a department store who wants to purchase a number of DVDs, and these DVD boxes cannot be broken up. So this is kind of like a trial and error. We've got one box of 25 that we can sell for $250, or we've got one box of 14 that we can purchase for $180. And so our total amount that we want to not go over is $435. So what I did was I just kind of did one box of each, okay? So one box of 25 was $250, and one box of 14 was $180. And if I added those up, I would get $430, which seems to be, that's going to be my answer, because if I did more than one box of 25, that's going to be 500. And if I did, three boxes of 180, that's going to go over my amount. So what you're going to have in your MyMathLab is you're going to have to fill in how many boxes of each for the first part, and then they want to know what is the total cost. Well, that's right there. So you actually figure out the second answer before you, kind of play around with the first one. And then a couple of these questions in here are just kind of trick questions, so I'm not going to waste some time on that. But I do want you to know how to do this one, because this one you'll see a lot. And so what you should know about the area of a rectangle, it is the length times the width of a rectangle, which we usually abbreviate L times W. So if I'm looking at this and they ask me to double the length of each of the sides, the length and the width, that means that my area will now be 2 times the length and 2 times the width, which is going to give me 4 times the length and the width. So the what happens to the area of the rectangle is it doesn't double, it actually quadruples. It takes that number that you're taking by the sides, and you're going to multiply it by itself. So if you're tripling each side, that would be 3L times 3W. Your area would change by a factor of 9. If you are changing by a factor of 4, then you would have 4L times 4W, which would be changing your area, whoops, I forgot my L, by 16. So basically, whatever this number is right here, then you are going to take that number times itself. So if we were changing our area by 10, then, if we were changing our length or our width by 10, then our area would change by 100. If we were changing our area by, changing our sides by 7, our area would change by 49. So whatever the change is, okay, the change in side length or width, we're going to call that N, and then we're going to take that N and square it, okay? So what happens is a lot of students miss this problem because they will just say that the area is going to change by that factor. They would say the area would change by 2 if you doubled it, or the area would change by 3 if you tripled it. But it's actually the number that you're taking times itself, okay? All right, and the next problem, again, it's another gas problem where we are looking for this time how many gallons did we use, where the previous section we were looking at how many miles per gallon. So you have a beginning odometer reading, and then you have an ending odometer reading. And so we want to make sure that we take the ending 37,364, and we subtract 25,124, and that gives me 0. So it looks like we went 12,000 240 miles. And so now we are going to take that and we are going to divide by the average miles per gallon. So when I divide by 24, I get 510 gallons of gas. Okay? In the next one, we're just simply trying to figure out which team won. And so we've got 34, and this is basketball, so 34 field goals. Each one of those is 2 points each. And 13 foul goals. Each one is worth 1 point. And then we have the Panthers scoring a difference. So we're going to write Bulldogs here, Panthers here. And so the Bulldogs were 34 times 2. So that is 68. And then we've got 13 times 1, which is 13. And so they scored 81 points. And then the Panthers did 38 times 2, which is 76. And 8 times 1, which is 8. And they scored 84. So the Panthers win. And they win by 3. Okay, the next problem is dealing with a unit cost, or you could go back to your ratios and proportions the way that you do this. So one way to look at it is if you're looking at unit cost, okay, then that means you're going to take the price over the amount of the pieces, okay? So if you have $100 and you divide it by 1,000 pieces, that tells you that each piece is going to be worth 10 cents per piece of candy. But you want to purchase 10 pieces. So now we have to multiply the cost of one piece times the number of pieces that we're buying, and we get $1. Okay, so that's one way to do it. If you like that ratio proportion, then you can do price over amount, and you can set it up this way. You can have $100 over 1,000 pieces, and you want to know how much it costs to make 10 pieces. And so then, not make 10 pieces, but buy 10 pieces. So then you would multiply and divide, and you would get the same $1, okay? In this next one, we're going to do tutoring. And when we do the tutoring, you're getting paid a rate of your base rate, and then you're getting paid overtime. So I think the easiest way to do this is to take anything over 40 hours is what we're going to get paid overtime. So I divide it up into the first week. They work 42 hours. So I take 42 times my base pay of $5.15. And that gives me $216.30. Then the overtime is 2 hours times $1.20. And so that gives me $2.40. So for that first week, I am going to make this much amount. So I add them together, and that is $218.70. Okay? Then for week 2, they work 45 hours. So we take 45 times 5.15, and we get $231.75. And this time they have 5 hours of overtime, which is $6. And so $231.75 plus 6 gives me $237.75. And so to figure out what they made in the week, both weeks, then I am simply going to add those two together. So I get 456.45. Okay, the most important thing, and that's not the only way to do it, but the most important thing is to make sure that for every hour you work, you definitely get paid that base rate, and you only get paid the $1.20 on the overtime hours, okay? All right, so now this next problem is dealing with, we have a salary in terms of monthly rate, and then we have expenses in terms of a yearly, and then we want to buy shares, or this person wants to buy shares with whatever is left over. So this is a multi-step problem. The first one, we want to find the yearly salary by taking the 2,750 a month and multiplying it times 12 months. And so for the year, they will make $33,000. So now we have expenses for the year, and so I'm going to underline these, and then basically you are just going to add these up. So if I take 4,800, 8,200, 3,750, 4,250, and 3,000, and I add these up, 10, that's 20, 6, 10, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. So that would be 24,000. So now we need to see how much is left over. So 33,000 is what she brings home. 24,000 is what she expends, and so that says we have $9,000 left, and then she is going to buy shares at $3.75. So we divide by 375, and that says that we can purchase, or she can purchase, 24 shares. Okay, so basically it's a four-step problem. First, you have to figure out the amount that they make. Then you have to total up your expenses. Then you have to find the difference. And then last but not least, you divide by the number of shares. Okay? All right, this one right here, you are definitely going to see. So I want to make sure that you understand how to do this. This is a multi-step problem. And so the most important thing that you have to do, recognize, is that it gives you the leak in minutes, but then it's asking you, and the leak is in ounces, but it's asking you for gallons in a year, okay? So the first thing that you're going to do is you are going to find the number of minutes in a year, okay? So there are 60 minutes in an hour, 24 hours in a day, and 365 days in a year. And so when I multiply that out, I will get 525,600 minutes in a year, okay? So now in this example, the faucet only leaks 1 ounce of water per minute, okay? So the number of ounces times the number of minutes will tell us how much it's going to leak in a year. So the good thing about this is 1 ounce times 525,600 minutes says that it leaks 525,600 ounces in a year, okay? But they want to know gallons. So they tell you that there's 128 ounces in a gallon. So you are going to take the number of ounces lost, so 525,600, and divide it by 128. And so when I do that, I will get 4,106.25 gallons lost or wasted in a year. And that's the first part of my answer, okay? Now, the good thing is that you only have to pay per 1,000 gallons, okay? So now you're going to take your answer from part A, 4,106.25, and divide it by 1,000 gallons. And so that essentially moves the decimal point over 3 places to the left. And I don't want to round anything. I want to leave that on my calculator. So now that I have that, that tells me how many thousand gallons are in that 4,106.25. And I'm going to multiply it by the price that they give us. And so when I multiply that out, that says that I will have to pay $45.99 additional on that water bill for the leak. Okay, so most importantly, the minutes per year. So if you guys want to memorize this number right here, the minutes in a year never changes unless it's a leap year, but we're not going to deal with leap years. Okay, so the minutes in a year do not change. You take the number of minutes in a year times the leak, and this one, it just happened to be 1 ounce, and so you multiply that, and then you take that number and divide it by the number of ounces in a gallon, which is 128. That gives you your first part. Then you will divide it by 1,000 to see how many thousands of gallons are in that. And then you multiply it by the cost, okay? So a few things, these next problems are just kind of fun problems. You guys look at those telephone number ones. We're gonna do one more, and I want you to go ahead and throw this problem out. We do not need to do this one anymore, okay? So just eliminate that problem from your notes, and then the next one's just kind of a fun one. So we're just gonna do this last problem. And this is just talking about depreciation. So you purchased a car for $34,800, and then after 7 years, it was only worth this. So we want to find out the total amount of depreciation. So 34,800 minus 8,550 tells us that the car in 7 years depreciated $26,250. Now, we're going to assume that it's going to depreciate at a steady rate, okay? So we're going to divide this number by 7, and that tells us that it depreciates $3,750 every year. Okay, so now they want to know, what is the car worth at the end of the 3rd year? So there's lots of different ways you guys can do this. I think the easiest way is to take that number times the number of years. And so in 3 years, it will depreciate $11,250. So the original price of the car minus the amount that it will depreciate in 3 years will give us what it's worth at the end of the 3rd year. And so at the end of the 3rd year, whoops, I didn't subtract that right, excuse me. Let's see, I'll do it here by hand. That's 0, that's 5, 1 from 3, 23,550. Okay, so that finishes off 1.3. I'm going to continue working on these notes and upload them to your D2L.